The reason honestly is because I knew nothing about it. I'm embarrassed to say like nothing about. And when I say it, it was. What happened during the Reconstruction period? After the Civil War for over a decade, CNN's Dana Bash kept quiet about the real reason behind her sudden split from fellow journalist John King. Their 2012 divorce shocked fans, especially after their high-profile romance and rapid marriage. But now, 13 years later, Dana is finally pulling back the curtain on what really tore them apart. Was it the pressure of politics, a betrayal behind closed doors, or something even deeper? Buckle up, because what she's revealing isn't just personal. It's the kind of truth that could shake the media world to its core. Inside the private turmoil of Dana Bash has long been recognized as one of CNN's most trusted political correspondents, a woman who has reported from the heart of Capitol Hill with unwavering focus and clarity. Her work has placed her front and center during some of the most pivotal political moments in recent American history. Yet while millions watched her break down complex policy debates or press lawmakers with pointed questions, far fewer realized that her personal life was unfolding under just as much intensity, though far less publicly, as someone whose job required her to untangle the private lives and power struggles of others. Bash found herself in the unusual position of becoming a subject of intrigue herself. Her personal relationships, particularly her marriages, often drew the same level of attention as the stories she covered on air. This wasn't just because she was a public figure. It was also due to the influential circles she moved in and the powerful partners she chose. Suddenly, the woman who helped the nation understand the intricacies of political drama found her own life mirrored by similar complexities. Despite the mounting curiosity surrounding her relationships, Bash never allowed outside noise to dictate how she carried herself. Her ability to maintain composure amid speculation, and her careful balance of public responsibility with private protection reflected a deep understanding of how visibility can both illuminate and burden a person's life. With a poised demeanor and a carefully guarded sense of privacy, she continued to report with sharpness and empathy, even when whispers about her home life grew louder. What made Bash's situation even more layered was the intersection of her personal and professional worlds. Not only were her relationships subject to media attention, but they also involved individuals deeply tied to the institutions and events she covered. That level of proximity between her journalistic identity and her private life invited an added level of scrutiny. Every appearance, every shared broadcast moment seemed to be dissected for hidden meaning or subtle tension. Still, Bash held her ground, choosing restraint over reaction and letting her work speak louder than the headlines. About her personal affairs, she never sought the spotlight, nor did she retreat from the weight of public scrutiny. Instead, Dana Bash quietly transformed her experiences into a deeper understanding of the emotional forces that often shape the political world. While the public speculated and the media searched for flaws in her composed demeanor, she remained focused on what she did best, telling stories that mattered, even as her own remained tucked away, guarded and waiting for the right moment to emerge. But how did her journey into journalism begin? And what shaped the quiet strength behind her voice? Keep watching. From newsroom roots to political spotlight, before delving into the deeply personal reasons behind Dana Bash's headline-making divorce from fellow CNN anchor John King, it's important to understand the woman behind the news desk, her beginnings, the path that shaped her, and the unique journey that would eventually place her at the heart of American political journalism. Born Dana Ruth Schwartz on June 15, 1971 in Manhattan, and later raised in Montvale, New Jersey, Bash came into the world already immersed in a culture of news, storytelling, and political thought. Her father, Stuart Schwartz, worked as a senior broadcast producer for Good Morning America at ABC News, and her mother, Francis Weinman Schwartz was a writer and educator, deeply involved in Jewish studies. That blend of journalistic precision and intellectual curiosity surrounded Bash from childhood. Her maternal grandmother, Terry Weinman, had fled Hungary during the Second World War in 1941. Sadly, her parents and sister were later victims of the Holocaust at Auschwitz in 1944. That history of survival and tragedy remained part of Bash's larger narrative, an inheritance of resilience that would serve her in her demanding career. Her early years were marked by family moves, from Tennessee to New Jersey, to Washington, D.C., and back again to Montvale. Just before her teenage years, as she matured, her passion for political storytelling deepened. She attended Pascack Hills High School before heading to George Washington University, where she majored in political communication. Even during her college years, Bash wasn't just studying politics. She was already working her way into the newsroom. Through internships at NBC, CBS, and CNN, she got hands-on experience in the fast-paced, high-stakes world of television news. In 1993, shortly after graduating cum laude, she joined CNN officially. Though not in front of the camera, her first role was modest. A producer on weekend shows like Late Edition, Evans and Novak, and Inside Politics. But what she lacked in visibility, she made up for with tenacity and intuition. Bash's ability to anticipate political developments and her skill in capturing the nuances of Capitol Hill didn't go unnoticed. She steadily climbed the ranks, eventually becoming a specialist in coverage of the U.S. Senate. Her growing knowledge of the legislative process, paired with her network of contacts, gave her a unique edge. By the mid-2, Bash was no longer just shaping stories from behind the scenes. She began making on-air appearances, combining sharp reporting with a calm, relatable presence that viewers quickly trusted. Over time, she became one of CNN's most recognized political voices. Her career reached new heights. During the 2012 presidential election cycle, her coverage stood out for its clarity and fairness, offering viewers critical insights in a time of deep political division. Reflecting on her work, she once said, "The privilege of reporting on our democracy is something I've never taken lightly." That passion for accuracy and accountability became a defining trait of her reporting style. With years of experience under her belt, Bash took on more visible roles. She became a regular on shows like State of the Union and Inside Politics, and her ability to hold political leaders accountable without theatrics earned her respect across party lines. By 2014, she was being recognized not just as a reporter, but as a powerful voice in Washington. Elle magazine honored her at its Women in Washington Power List event, celebrating her as one of the influential women shaping the political conversation. Bash's presence only grew more prominent in the years that followed. In 2019, she co-hosted a memorable Democratic primary debate, where Kamala Harris famously confronted Joe Biden with the words, "That little girl was me." The moment made headlines around the world, and Bash's poise as a moderator received wide praise. 2 years later, in 2021, she joined Jake Tapper as co-host of CNN's flagship Sunday morning show, State of the Union. That same year marked another professional turning point. Her elevation as the network's chief political correspondent. In April 2023, CNN announced that Bash would take over Inside Politics, from John King becoming the solo anchor of the show. It was a full-circle moment, as Bash had once worked behind the scenes on the same program. But her influence wasn't limited to television. In 2024, she co-moderated the highly anticipated presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, alongside Jake Tapper. Earlier that year, she'd also moderated a Republican primary face-off in Iowa between Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. And in yet another evolution of her career, Bash ventured into authorship. Her book, co-written with David Fisher and published by Hanover Square Press in 2024, explored one of the bloodiest chapters in America's electoral history, the 1872 Louisiana gubernatorial race, titled America's Deadliest Election. The shocking true story of the election that changed American history. The work was a striking reminder that Bash's commitment to political storytelling extended far beyond modern news cycles. Her ascent built on dedication, grace under pressure, and journalistic integrity laid the foundation for a career that spanned decades. But while her public life seemed so well orchestrated, behind closed doors her personal journey, particularly her relationship with John King, was far more complex. And as we peel back the layers of her private world, the decisions she made begin to take on new meaning. Dana Bash and Jeremy Bash's marriage. Amid her rising success at CNN, Dana Bash's personal life was also stepping into the public spotlight, most notably through her 1998 marriage to Jeremy Bash, a man whose name carried weight in national security circles. Jeremy, a Harvard-educated attorney with a sharp mind for intelligence operations, would go on to serve as chief of staff at both the CIA and the Department of Defense. Under President Obama, his world steeped in secrecy, strategy, and classified briefings stood in stark contrast to Dana's, which was rooted in broadcasting truth to the public. Yet their paths overlapped in a city where journalism and government often collide, and their union came to represent a rare intersection of media and military intelligence. What drew them together might have been their mutual understanding of the fast-paced, high-pressure world they both inhabited. Living in Washington, D.C., their home was surrounded by political conversations, security briefings, and newsroom deadlines. On the surface, they appeared to be a formidable pair, two ambitious individuals who had earned their place at the center of national discourse. But behind the scenes, the weight of those demanding careers was building. Their marriage unfolded quietly, far from the kind of tabloid chaos that often surrounds public figures. They made no show of their union, nor of their split. By 2007, after nearly a decade together, Dana and Jeremy quietly divorced. There were no televised statements or tell-all interviews, just a respectful parting between two professionals who had once shared both a life and a rare understanding of what it meant to be constantly under the public gaze. The reasons behind their divorce were never fully addressed by either party, but observers couldn't help but see the strain of two relentless careers as a contributing factor. Still, their story didn't end with their separation. In the years that followed, Jeremy's name surfaced again, not because of his past marriage, but because of controversy. In 2020, his signature appeared on a letter with other intelligence officials, questioning the legitimacy of the Hunter Biden laptop story and suggesting it bore the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. The letter, which circulated widely ahead of the presidential election, was met with criticism and reignited political debate. Dana Bash, maintaining her usual professionalism, made no public comment on the matter, keeping a clear boundary between her journalistic role and her past personal ties. That silence spoke volumes about her values. Dana had always been careful to keep her private life separate from her on-screen persona, and even when speculation stirred around her former husband's involvement in politically sensitive matters, she never let it blur the lines between her work and her personal past. Her refusal to engage in public commentary about the letter or Jeremy's political standing reflected a deliberate choice to focus on her credibility and responsibilities, not on echoes from her personal history. Still, many looked back at their marriage as a unique case of two influential individuals trying to find balance in a life shaped by public service. Together, they had faced immense expectations from their careers, from the public, and perhaps even from each other. Their eventual separation didn't mark failure, but rather highlighted the very real toll such high-stakes roles can take on personal relationships. The constant need to perform, to analyze, to remain composed under pressure. These were strengths in their respective fields. But they left little room for ease or stillness at home. And yet, even after their marriage ended, both Dana and her ex-husband Jeremy continued on paths that underscored their deep commitment to their professions. Dana's standing as a leading political journalist continued to rise while Jeremy remained a respected voice in national security circles. There were no public disputes, no bitter exchanges, just the quiet professionalism of two individuals who once shared a private life and now stood firm in their separate public roles. So what made Dana take a chance on marriage again after a difficult first experience? Was it hope, love, or something more profound? Stay tuned to find out. Dana Bash and John King's shared journey. While Dana Bash steadily carved her path as a trusted political voice in American journalism, her personal life unfolded in ways just as compelling as the stories she reported. Not long after her first marriage ended, Bash found herself drawn to a colleague whose world mirrored her own, CNN anchor John King. Their connection wasn't born under studio lights, but behind the scenes at CNN, where they shared long hours and a mutual passion for politics gradually evolved into something more intimate. At the time, King was already a familiar presence on screen, best known for his coverage on Inside Politics. Their chemistry, both personal and professional, didn't go unnoticed. In 2008, they exchanged vows during an intimate ceremony in Cape Cod. But it wasn't just the wedding that captured attention. It was King's conversion from Catholicism to Judaism, a deeply personal decision that spoke volumes about his commitment to Bash. Their relationship, a fusion of respect, admiration, and shared purpose, was often described by colleagues as dynamic, a true journalistic power duo. They covered high-stakes political events together, appeared on air seamlessly, and were praised for the way they kept their private lives separate from the headlines. They reported 3 years into their marriage. In 2011, they welcomed their son Jonah, a turning point that added a tender, new layer to their already complex lives. Parenthood brought joy, but it also added new pressures to two already demanding careers. Bash and King tried to navigate their growing responsibilities, but the demands of the public eye and the stress of their professions began to weigh heavily on their relationship. By early 2012, just a year after Jonah's birth, the couple had quietly started living apart, and in March that year they finalized their divorce. While their reasons for parting were never made public, both were intentional in keeping the tone respectful and discreet. In a brief statement, Bash emphasized the mutual respect they held for one another personally and professionally, and it wasn't just a soundbite. Despite the end of their marriage, they continued working side by side at CNN, often appearing on the same broadcasts. Their ability to remain cordial, even collaborative, spoke to their shared maturity and unwavering professionalism. A source close to them once revealed they would continue to co-parent their young son and work together with the utmost professionalism. And they did just that even after the split. Bash's trajectory within CNN continued to rise. She took on more visible roles, eventually succeeding King as the host of Inside Politics, the very show he once led. Her reputation grew, not just because of her journalistic sharpness, but also her resilience in interviews. Bash rarely dwelt on her personal challenges, choosing instead to highlight her dedication to her craft. "I've been through a lot in my personal life," she once admitted, "but my work is where I've always found my strength." Juggling motherhood with a high-profile career wasn't easy, but Bash made it appear seamless. Jonah remained her anchor, and her ability to prioritize both her role as a mother and her career became a quiet testament to her strength. Meanwhile, King shifted his focus toward other political projects, stepping away from Inside Politics in the following years while continuing to report with the same analytical precision he was known for. Their shared story didn't unfold like a fairy tale. It was messy, complicated, and real. But in a world where public figures often struggle to balance the personal and the professional, Dana Bash and John King managed to do both, with grace and enduring respect for each other, proving that, even under the unblinking glare of the spotlight, dignity and devotion to work, to family, and to each other can still find a place. Dana Bash's journey through the heart of American journalism. What began as a college internship quietly sparked a career that would eventually help shape how millions understand American politics. Dana Bash's entrance into the world of journalism was anything but flashy. Yet, it was grounded in a fierce dedication to her craft and a deep curiosity about the world of governance and power. During her university years, she took internships at top-tier networks NBC, CBS, and CNN, where the buzz of newsroom life became her classroom. At NBC, she navigated the intensity of live news, mastering how to operate under pressure. CBS sharpened her analytical instincts, particularly in decoding complex political dynamics. But it was CNN that gave her a professional home, where her love for political storytelling would be nurtured and tested in real time. In those early days, Dana was mostly behind the scenes, researching, producing, observing, but even then, her clarity of thought and devotion to truth stood out. She had an uncanny ability to sift through the noise and identify the core of a story. That sensibility, along with her relentless work ethic, didn't go unnoticed. Gradually, her role began to shift. What was once a producer's quiet diligence transitioned into the unmistakable voice and presence of a correspondent, destined for the front lines of national conversation. Her rise wasn't instant, but it was inevitable. Dana's on-air debut marked a turning point, not only for her, but also for CNN's political programming. She quickly proved herself to be more than a capable reporter. She was incisive, fair, and fearlessly direct. Audiences began to associate her with calm, intelligent commentary in moments that demanded clarity. From election night chaos to tense Senate hearings, Dana wasn't just reporting events. She was explaining them with precision, bridging the gap between Capitol Hill and the everyday American. As she became a familiar face on the screen, she also became an essential voice in shaping CNN's political narrative. Her coverage during presidential elections especially established her as a trusted guide through America's most pivotal moments. Dana brought context to chaos, translating political strategies and voter sentiments into language that informed rather than inflamed. Her handling of the 2012 presidential election solidified that reputation. In a season marked by division and uncertainty, Dana's sharp questions and thoughtful interviews cut through the noise. Her reporting was more than just reliable. It helped the public understand a divided electorate with a sense of honesty and balance that's rare in modern media. What distinguished her wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. Her style combined journalistic integrity with conversational accessibility, offering depth without pretension. Whether speaking with a sitting senator or a skeptical voter, Dana's tone remained composed and respectful, yet she never backed away from the tough questions. Her presence during political showdowns became a source of both comfort and challenge, reminding viewers of journalism's role, not in soothing partisanship, but in scrutinizing power. The recognition that followed her 2012 election coverage wasn't simply about popularity. It was about consistency. It was about trust. Dana's ability to frame political issues through human experiences rather than partisan lenses allowed her to remain a steady figure in an otherwise volatile media environment. Even as public trust in journalism waned, Dana's commitment to fairness and context stood firm. Her peers respected her. Her audience relied on her. This blend of credibility and relatability, refined through years of navigating newsroom, politics, and national elections, has shaped Dana Bash into more than a correspondent. She is now an institution within CNN. She doesn't merely report. on the inner workings of Congress, or the pulse of presidential races. She interprets them, asks the questions that matter, and guides viewers through the noise with a steady hand. Her evolution from intern to a leading political voice is not just a professional art, it's a masterclass in journalistic purpose and perseverance shaped by years of listening, learning, and stepping forward when the moment called for clarity, commendation for journalistic integrity, and professionalism. Her rise in political journalism, steady and deeply rooted, flows seamlessly into the unwavering integrity that defines Dana Bash's career. In a media landscape often disrupted by bias and spectacle, Dana has stood out not by shouting louder, but by staying grounded. Since stepping into the limelight, her commitment to balanced reporting and clear-eyed ethics has remained unshaken. A rarity in a field where pressure often bends principles. Her interviews with the nation's political powerhouses never pander, instead, they probe with purpose. She asks the difficult questions firm but never hostile, earning respect from both allies and critics. Across the all, Dana's strength lies not only in the questions she poses, but in the diligence behind them. Every exchange, whether live on air or in the heat of election night coverage, reveals hours of research, instinct, and restraint. She navigates through political landmines with a calmness that doesn't dilute urgency, but elevates clarity. Whether facing contentious policy debates or sudden developments, she carries an unshakable composure that reflects her years of experience and deep understanding of Washington's rhythm. Since joining CNN, she has become a trusted anchor of truth, someone viewers turn to not for drama, but for accuracy. Her coverage during critical moments, from Capitol Hill showdowns to major electoral shifts, never drifts into partisanship. Instead, she leads with a steady hand, allowing facts to take center stage. Colleagues often praise her ability to cut through the noise without sacrificing fairness. It is this poise, paired with relentless preparation and a firm ethical core, that has made her not just a reporter, but a benchmark in a profession that is constantly evolving. Dana Bash's presence remains a compass, quietly influential and unapologetically honest. But how does someone so composed on camera carry the weight of a heart quietly breaking off screen? Stay tuned to find out. Dana Bash, 13 years later, speaking her truth, and yet beneath the polished composure and steely professionalism, there was a private battle Dana Bash rarely shared. Until now, after 13 years of silence, Dana finally confirmed what many had speculated, but never fully understood: why her marriage to fellow CNN anchor John King came to an end. It wasn't scandalous or explosive. It was human. To driven people, each consumed by demanding careers, were unable to sustain the personal space between deadlines, breaking news, and relentless schedules. In her words, it was heartbreak, not hatred. Though the end of their marriage in 2012 was a deeply personal loss, Dana refused to let it define or derail her. If anything, it brought clarity. Instead of retreating, she leaned forward, while enduring the pain of a dissolving relationship and the responsibility of raising their young son. She found a deeper part of herself, the part that held steady, even when everything around her shifted. In that moment, she chose not to be the story, but to tell it better than ever before. Her resilience wasn't loud. It was quiet, deliberate, and reflected in her work. As others speculated about her personal life, Dana doubled down on her coverage, whether on the campaign trail or moderating nationally televised debates. She showed up prepared, composed, and fiercely committed to fairness. CNN entrusted her with some of its most critical political programming during this time, proof not only of her journalistic chops, but of her capacity to carry weight without crumbling under it. Dana's voice, always sharp and steady, became even more grounded in experience. She wasn't just analyzing politics anymore. She was living the balance between personal chaos and public duty behind the scenes. She was navigating single motherhood. On screen, she was delivering insightful, balanced analysis that kept audiences informed, without bias or bluster. She often speaks of that chapter not with bitterness, but with reflection. Her divorce, full of painful, taught her about boundaries, focus, and the strength that comes from owning your own story. "I had to learn how to rebuild," she once admitted in an interview. "But I also learned I was capable of more than I thought." That mindset translated into her work. Her interviews became more empathetic, her perspective broader. She could relate to personal struggle, not just observe it from the outside. CNN never questioned her worth through it all. In fact, Dana took on greater responsibilities, proving herself not just as a capable correspondent, but as a mentor and trusted leader in the newsroom. Her trajectory wasn't a survival story. It was a blueprint for how to thrive. Despite private grief 13 years later, her choice to speak out isn't about revisiting the past. It's about owning it. Dana Bash's journey reminds us that sometimes, behind the most composed faces, are stories of quiet endurance and hard-won strength. Stories that shape not just careers, but character. Dana Bash's dual devotion to journalism and family, and just as her candid reflection on divorce began reshaping public perception, Dana Bash continued to quietly earn something even more powerful than sympathy: respect. In a world where personal misfortunes often derail even the most promising careers, Dana's ability to remain focused and principled became a powerful example of grace under pressure. Her strength wasn't only seen in her reporting, but in her unwavering ability to navigate the sharp edges of both personal heartbreak and professional intensity. Through the years, her name remained synonymous with credibility, fairness, and integrity, qualities she held on to, even when her personal life was going through unexpected changes. At CNN, her colleagues admired how she never allowed pain to harden her tone or cloud her analysis. Instead, it brought more depth to her storytelling. Viewers sensed the compassion beneath her questions, a subtle understanding that only someone who had truly endured could carry. Even the wider media community took note, not just of her work ethic, but of the quiet endurance that supported it. But what made her journey even more compelling was her simultaneous role as a mother. Her son Jonah became her grounding force. Dana never used her demanding career as an excuse to step back from motherhood. Instead, she shaped her schedule around him. From early morning briefings to late-night interviews, she ensured his needs came first. It wasn't always easy, but Dana never let him feel like an afterthought. She became a symbol of something many strive for: not perfection but balance. Her approach, one rooted in prioritizing love at home while pursuing truth at work, challenged the long-held idea that success in one area must come at the expense of the other. She proved that both could be nurtured, as long as the intention was clear. Her ability to do this without sacrificing journalistic integrity or parental presence is what truly set her apart. For many working parents, especially women trying to climb high-pressure ladders, Dana's experience became a quiet source of motivation. She didn't shout her achievements, she lived them. Her story echoes a bigger truth about modern life: that resilience, when coupled with purpose, creates the kind of legacy no award can fully capture. And in every segment she delivers, every headline she helps break, there's a trace of that unshakable strength that continues to inspire from behind the screen. But what do you think truly sets Dana Bash apart? Her journalism, her resilience, or the quiet strength of motherhood? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.